Great. Thanks everyone for joining us today. It's great to see such a good attendance, a large attendance really. Still people coming in. So, all right, I think we'll get started. We're already at 4:02, so it's time. So I'd like to start with by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we are all dialing from today. So I'm hosting this webinar from the land of the Gayamigal people. So we pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and ongoing cultures and connections to the land. And we extend our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. I'd like to thank Climate Action Week Sydney as well, and their sponsors, obviously, because without the tremendous amount of work that happened to make this happen, we wouldn't be here today to have this session. There is about over 100 events this week that are taking place, so that's really amazing to see so much effort and so much results as well for this event. So yeah, I'd like to thank the sponsors, so the City of Sydney, Greenhouse, and Boundless in particular. So this is Climate Action Week Sydney, but what's amazing today is that we have people dialing in from all over Australia and even further. So people from all over the globe at the moment, which is great. A lot of people from Europe as well. So really great to see so many people interested in the topic. Quick intro. So your speakers for today. So I'm Julian Bertoli. I'm the Managing Director of G Transition. So we are a marketing agency focused on sustainability and climate technology. And so my co-speaker today will be James. And James, I'll let you introduce yourself as well. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. Thank you, Julian. Pleasure to be here and join you all today. So, like Julian, I also work within sustainability communications, helping companies to communicate about their corporate sustainability activities, their more sustainable product launches, and also create sustainability reports. So, very much on the sort of messaging and content side of sustainability communications.
Yeah, that's right. And so James is based in Denmark, and he's my business partner in Europe. So we've done quite a bit of work together for the past 2 years. So it's great to have him on board for this presentation, and he's going to give us a bit of an overview of what's happening in the European market as well. So just a couple of words on G Transition. So we are a marketing agency. We've been in the marketplace for about 4 years now. And so we provide marketing strategy services as well as implementation of marketing strategies across multiple channels. Of course, sustainability marketing is what we focus on the most. And we do some coaching and fractional CMO services as well, depending on the size of the clients. We've been working with various type of organizations, some large companies, but mostly SMBs and climate tech startups as well. So today we're going to talk about sustainability marketing. So we're going to look at, of course, the role of the marketers in sustainability. And before we look at what greenwashing is and how to do sustainability marketing the right way, I just wanted to start by talking about the opportunity that sustainability represents in business. And we are in this room, and we probably all know that there is an opportunity here, but I think it's good to make the case for sustainability again. So there is very much an increased importance of sustainability in business over the past few years, and we see pressure coming from all directions. So customers and consumers, they all expect cleaner products. They want to see sustainability features on the products and services that they consume. There are regulations that are coming to play and impact entire supply chains. So for Australia, we've got the mandatory reporting that will start at the end of So beginning of next calendar year. So that's going to trickle down the supply chains as well. So everyone is going to be impacted. We've got investors also trying to green their portfolios. Employees want to do the right thing. So they are more and more looking for sustainability, the sustainability credentials of companies when they join, when they get into a new role. And that's very true for the Gen Z and for the millennials as well. Of course, management and business owners also want to do the right thing. So people focus more and more on what's happening in that space. So sustainability represents a risk for sure that needs to be mitigated. So if you're not on board, then that can be a risk for the business. But there's also evidence that show that the companies that measure their ESG performance outperform their competition. So this is definitely a way to be better performing. And I'm talking about outperforming on the more traditional economic sense of performance, right? So revenue, of course. So I just wanted to reframe this as well. So obviously this is Climate Action Week. So we're more talking about environment this week across those various events. But obviously environment is part of sustainability. When we talk about sustainability, we tend to think about environmental causes only, but that includes also social and governance and sometimes culture as well. But it's important to understand that when we talk about sustainability, we talk about all these three things. So that means we can talk about causes like energy, of course, or carbon management, that's for sure, but also things like the waste management or the impact on biodiversity. These are the sort of things that we can talk about when we talk about environmental environment. On the social side of things, we can talk about, that's about employee well-being. That's going to be about human rights, how you manage your supply chain as well. So there's many elements that we can talk about in that space. And governance, which is going to refer to corporate sustainability, of course. That's going to be, looking at your board, how diverse your board is, how do you manage your risks, for example, is there a code of conduct in your organization? So these are all the different things that we can talk about. These are actually some of them. There's a lot more of them, but I just wanted to reframe what we talk about when we talk about sustainability. And also wanted to talk about a few numbers. So again, to make the case of sustainability. So these numbers come from the New York University, the Stern Center for Sustainable Business. So that's sales data that have been analyzed over the past 10 years. So you can see the data is pretty recent because we've got results for 2023. And so over 250,000 consumer products were analyzed over 36 categories. And what we can see is in 2015, the share of sustainability marketed products represented about 13.7% of sales. In 2023, we're looking at 18.5%. And even in a period of high inflation, this continues to grow. So there's definitely more and more demand for sustainability marketed products. When we look at the growth as well, so that's coming from the same data, we can see that year on year, sustainability marketed product grew by almost 10%, as opposed to conventionally marketed product, which is only about, only 6.4%. But there's a massive gap between the two. So this is growing fast. This is a trend that is growing really, really fast. This is an extract from another survey that comes from CAW, which is an Australian company, but the data is also based on a US sample. So there are 3,000 US adults. And so there was a few questions asked, but I think the two that I'm going to show are quite interesting. This one is about who thinks it is important that businesses act responsibly when it comes to society and environment. Well, the result is pretty clear. It's everybody. Whether you are 18 or 65 plus, whether you have children or not, whether you lean on the right or left political spectrum, everyone think that businesses need to act responsibly. So this is not about just a fraction of people, right? This is the entire society. I know this is a American survey on American people, but we can pretty much we can agree that any Western country would be pretty much aligned with those numbers. And finally, this number is also quite interesting. The question was about whether sustainability had more or less influence on purchase decisions than it had 12 months ago. And 58% of the people said sustainability has more influence now in my purchase decisions than it had 12 months ago. So it is going fast, it's growing, and it's growing faster, right? So that's definitely a trend. So there is an opportunity, that's for sure, but there's also a choice to make, right? Like clearly people are going to want a lot more sustainability companies, sustainability products. And so the choice is either to go and join the trend or decide to not do anything, with a consequence that will be potentially sales declining, but also more difficulty to find good people to work with, or to find investments as well. So the data I showed were more around B2C, but that's also true in the B2B space. We see the same sort of results as well. So it's really across the board. So now, I think a lot of companies know that there is this opportunity. And so marketers, to some degree, are involved because marketers will talk about the sustainability of their organizations or their products. So there's two types of sustainability communications that we can talk about. There is the corporate sustainability, which is really about communicating your organization's environmental and social impact, and the practices and what initiatives the company is taking. And there is a product sustainability, which is more about talking about your product and services, and talking about those sustainability features that it has. So what you can communicate depends on where you are on your journey. Of course, it's a really bad idea to start communicating on corporate sustainability if your organization is not doing anything in that space, right? So you want to make sure that if you talk about your sustainability agenda, there is a sustainability agenda, but it's a good way you can communicate on that to your stakeholders, whether they're your customers or your supply chain or investors. You can also incorporate the sustainability in your brand if you're not ready to really involve that into your company, and that's probably okay to do it as well, as soon as there's real data and you can substantiate those claims. You can also promote products that are more sustainable, and that you started to add into your portfolio, and that's totally fine as well. The thing is, those that are communicating the sustainability initiatives are marketers. And so what we expect from a marketer is to influence stakeholders. And so they're instrumental in influencing perceptions and behaviors. So they need to be on board with sustainability, and they need to understand it as well, because it's not like your traditional marketing. You can't talk about sustainability the same way. And today there is a low awareness of what sustainability communication principles are. And of course, those that don't understand it will eventually greenwash. That's what we're going to introduce, the concept of greenwashing. But basically, if you share the wrong message, that can backfire and put your company at risk. And so the opportunity is now gone, and it's also backfiring and becoming even a problem for you. So are you part of the solution or part of the problem? Like, I think we can argue that if marketers are not doing the right thing, then they are part of the problem. They are making things worse because it has an impact on the perception of sustainability initiatives as a whole as well. When we do sustainability communication well, we generate good results, right? We can build trust. We build trust with our stakeholders, and the perception of the company is going to be more positive, and people will be more interested in the products that the company has to offer. We engage stakeholders better as well. So we can create meaningful dialogue. We can generate collaborations, which is really, really good. We can raise awareness as well on key sustainability issues within the industry. So typically the challenges that you are facing potentially in your own industry to make your product or your services more sustainable. That's a good way to raise that awareness. And of course, we can create that differentiation. If you're doing better, or if you're doing things differently compared to your competitors in your industry. If you get it wrong, though, this is not an opportunity anymore. This can be dangerous, right? It can be damages to reputations. And we're going to see that in more details later. But basically, yes, you can undermine the credibility of your organization by pushing the wrong message. That can also result in financial loss, whether it is less sales, or whether it is paying fines because you've been prosecuted potentially, because there are legal and regulatory consequences. The regulators, no matter where it is, are taking action, and we'll have a look at a few cases in a moment. But these happen, right? So greenwashers are being prosecuted. And that's the impact on the organization. But there is a bigger impact than that. That's the impact on the overall sustainability messaging that people put out there, that undermine the credibility of events like this one, right? So Climate Action Week, because we could erode the trust of consumers, and we don't want to do that. So it's important to do the right thing. So what is greenwashing then? So put it simply, greenwashing describes environmental claims that are false or misleading. That sounds pretty straightforward, pretty, not rocket science. But if you look at 2020, the European Commission found that 53% of the environmental claims they looked at in the EU were vague, misleading, or unfounded, and 40% were unsubstantiated, which is a huge amount. This is half of it. So here in Australia, we have the ACCC, and this is the rules that we are following. And the ACCC gives a definition of greenwashing, and it considers that a business will be engaging in greenwashing where it makes a claim that represents a product, service, or the business itself as better for or less harmful to the environment than it really is. So since December last year, we have a guide, which is really, really helpful. And I invite every Australian in this room that are interested in this topic to look into that guide. It's not a big guide; it's about 50 pages, but you'll have a lot of information there. I think it's worth noting that every country will have some sort of a guide like this that you can refer back to, depending on where you're dialing from. But here in Australia, we've got about 8 principles that we follow. First one is to make accurate and truthful claims. Basically, don't lie. The second one is to have evidence to back up the claims. So as much evidence as possible. If you make a claim, you want to have information to prove what you're claiming. Do not hide or omit important information. So you want to give the entire truth. It's not just part of it. You want to make sure that you're not hiding anything. You want to explain any conditions or qualification on your claim. If it needs something to be true, then it needs to be mentioned as well. You want to avoid broad and unqualified claims. So something like sustainable, eco-friendly, green. These are just too vague and too broad. It's really hard to justify these. So it's better to avoid those terms entirely. You want to use clear and easy to understand language. So clear words, clear wording that everyone can understand. We don't want to make it too complicated to understand. The visual elements as well. So we want to make sure that, visual elements like trees or green, or blue for the ocean. So these colors can give the wrong impression. So we want to make sure that they're used in the right context. And finally, be direct and open about the sustainability transition, because it is a journey, it is a transition. No one today is fully sustainable. And so we don't want to show or make the impression that we are completely sustainable. No one is. So yeah, these are the principles. And basically the ACCC can take action, and they will take court action. And actually they already have taken action. And I just wanted to show you a couple of examples of what's happening in our backyards. So these two cases is quite interesting. So the first one is the Vanguard case. I don't know if people know about them in the room, but this one is interesting because that's the first one that the regulator, so the ASIC, has won in Australia, and that happened just in March, end of March. So it's really, really new. So the ASIC found that Vanguard had in their marketing materials false claims about the exclusions they were making in an ESG index fund. So basically, people thought that they were putting money into an environmentally responsible portfolio, but it turned out that that money was still going into petrol and fossil fuels. So it's just there was a big misalignment between the claims and what the fund was actually doing. And so, yeah, it just happened that ASIC won that case just recently. We don't know exactly what the consequences will be for Vanguard. It will have to wait another month or two, I think. But yeah, that's not a very good look for them. And then the second case is the Glad garbage bags. And I don't know if you've heard about this one. This is super recent. It's like a couple of weeks ago. So Glad is owned by Clorox. And so what happened is they released this product. You must have seen it in your local supermarket before. It claimed to be 50% ocean plastic recycled. And so we've got this blue color and the waves on the logo, everything. Fantastic. The problem is that it's not exactly ocean plastic, recycled ocean plastic. It is actually ocean-bound plastic, which means they have been collecting plastic from the shore, 50 kilometers from the shore, up to 50 kilometers in the shores of Indonesia, in places where there's no way to recycle plastic. And so that sounds great. It's actually a great thing. It's great what they've been doing. The problem is that this is not what's on the packaging. The packaging says it's ocean plastic, which means that people can think that Clorox is collecting the plastic directly from the ocean, and that's not the case. So that's why it's greenwashing. And this is clearly a marketing problem, right? Because again, the action they're taking is really good. But yes, unfortunately, we're still greenwashing. We need to be very precise, very clear about what we're saying on those packaging. So they being prosecuted as well. And so, yeah, we'll see what the outcome of this is, but I don't think you can find these products anymore on the shelves. So yeah, that's not a good look either for Glad. It's everywhere in the news, so no one wants to see the brand being exposed like that for this, especially when we do a good thing. So I thought I would also present a couple of other cases that are quite quite interesting, because we see these types of greenwashing all the time. They're the bigger types of greenwashing. So the hidden trade-off, for example, it's when we make an environmental claim and ignore the other environmental impacts that we are having. So that's an example of HSBC that was in 2021, so not too long ago. So these billboards were everywhere in the UK just before the COP26. And so basically it says, in the UK, we've been planting millions of trees, 2 million of trees, which will lock 1.25 million tons of carbon over their lifetime. Great. The problem is HSBC is also financing investment that generate a high level of CO2. So it's good to do that in one end, but on the other hand, if you're still polluting, it just doesn't work. And there was actually about a dozen complaints over those posters. ahead of the COP 26. Yes. So yeah, hidden trade-off is typically these sort of things. So when we hide part of the truth. Irrelevance. I think I wanted to show you a little clip as well. This is an ad from Innocent, the drinks, that was released in the UK just 2 years ago in 2022. I'm just going to play that, and we can talk about it after. It's only a 30-second clip.
We're messing up the planet. We're messing up real good.
And filling up our bodies with more pastry than we should.
We're messing around nature.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What are we doing?
Singing a song about our impending doom.
Well, that's mad.
It is a bit, isn't it?
Okay, let's try this instead.
Let's get mixing up the planet. Mix it up real good. Be kinder to our bodies with nature's tasty food.
Innocent. Little drinks with big dreams for a healthier planet.
So yeah, I hope the sound is good, but basically what it says here is that everyone is singing, we're messing up the planet, but if you start drinking Innocent, we're going to be saving the planet. How? The question is how, really? Because it's just it's a fruit juice. There's nothing particularly sustainable in the way they grow the fruit, they produce, and they serving it in single-use plastic bottles. And the company is owned by Coca-Cola, which is one of the biggest plastic polluters in the world. So really nothing relevant here, right? We're talking about saving the planet by drinking juice. And so this can give the wrong impression. It can give the impression that it's actually good for the environment to drink Innocent. So obviously, so that was in the UK. This was banned very, very quickly from TV. And yeah, of course, activists were all over it when it happened. But I think that's an interesting case, again, because this is clearly a marketing issue where, marketers were not fully aware of what they were doing. I would say legal teams also are probably involved to some degree. But yeah, it's very important to be careful with these things. Vagueness. I just wanted to add a couple of other terms that we want to avoid if possible. So terms like natural, non-toxic, sustainable, green, farm fresh, conscious, eco-friendly, these are really, really vague. You can't really, there's nothing you can substantiate in those claims. So we want to really avoid these as much as we can. False labels. So these are things that we see as well from time to time, where we've got this, this label, that's private label that we don't know where it's coming from, but it just looks good. It looks professional, it looks serious, but it's actually not the case. It's better to stick with existing labels that we know about, B Corp, Fair Trade, or the ones that are independent and that we can trust, and the public trusts as well. So it's better not to have those false labels, obviously. Claiming without proof, we talked about this. I think that's an interesting example as well. So if you can't prove or substantiate what you're claiming, then it's better not to talk about it in your communication. Ryanair, a few years ago, was talking about the fact that they were claiming to be the lowest carbon emission airline of all major airlines. The thing is, we don't know what a major airline means in their opinion, and they put a few criteria down there, but there is no analysis, there's no survey, there's nothing that proves that they are the lowest emitting airline. So that's, again, that's important to focus on. Think about whether what you're claiming is substantiated enough if someone comes after you. And finally, lying. I think we want to talk about this very quickly as well. This happens as well. It's not the majority, I think. I want to believe that it's not the majority, but it happens. And you probably have heard about the diesel gate a few years back, where Volkswagen was basically, they've they've programmed the TDI to only start, it was starting the emission control only during a test, but not if there was no test. So blatantly lying. Obviously, this billboard is not a real ad. It's a group of activists that put that everywhere around Paris at some point. And of course, you don't want your brand to suffer like this. This is basically your brand is being mocked, and the impact is very big. So yeah, definitely not something that we want to see with our brands. So I just wanted to mention that these are big brands, of course, and most of us in this room, we have small companies, but the thing is, the risk is real as well, even for smaller companies, because there are people out there that care, and rightly so, right? They care about what's being pushed, what's being published. So, there will be activists that will report any breaches, and that's the right thing to do. So you just need to be mindful and do the right thing, right? We also want to do the right thing. If we know we're not doing them, we're not, if your company is pushing something that we know is not right, then it's the responsibility of everyone to also push back on these. There is, if you're interested in more cases, there is this website called Climate Case Chart. They have all the cases, the active cases all around the world. Sorry, greenwashing cases. So it's very interesting to look into this as well. It's about over 900 cases globally, and that's going to grow as well as sustainability becomes more and more mainstream. Okay, I think at this point I wanted to hand over to James so that he could give us a little bit of an overview of what's happening in the UK, in Europe around sustainability claims, because there are changes coming, right?
Yes, yeah, that's quite right. And the EU is going to be tightening up quite considerably by creating this EU-wide legislation called the EU Green Claims Directive. And actually, that's going to come into force around 2026. It's still in draft and finalization right now, but around 2 years from now, every sustainability claim, every environmental claim that a company wants to make is going to have to be pre-approved before it can be used in any kind of website marketing, any kind of communication whatsoever. So this is a massive change, and it's going to mean that there will be national bodies, probably some of the existing national standards bodies that every country already has. Will actually, you'll need to submit your claim and the evidence supporting it and get it approved, and then you can go out and use it. And this will apply to every product or service sold in the EU. If you are a company, let's say in Denmark, where I'm based, you will apply to your national standards body, get it approved, and then your claim can be used across the EU. There will be a couple of exemptions, or one exemption, which is the tiniest businesses, that those with less than 10 employees will actually be exempt from this. But if they want to have, but they can still apply to get approval, and if they want to have a trustworthy claim, then it's obviously going to be in their favour that they've got that stamp of approval on their claim, so that the customers and consumers know that they can trust it. So yeah, that's coming in the next couple of years, and really, this is because there's such precision. There's like a new level of precision that is required in sustainability communication that marketers are not really used to. As you saw, between that ocean bound and and ocean plastic, it's these these small things that that make the difference, and everything needs to be completely accurate. Okay, so let's move on from greenwashing and talk about the 6 C's of sustainable marketing. So really, these are the 6 principles. If you want to get your sustainability marketing right, and not just be greenwashing, but make sure it has the most effect possible in the market, what are the things that you need to think about? So let's start with the first C, and that is clarity. So really be clear on your positioning. Do we want to be known as a low carbon product? Do we want to be known as the company that is helping to restore biodiversity. So be really clear about your positioning, and then come up with a short and simple message which explains that to your customers. Secondly is credibility. We've already talked a bit about this in relation to greenwashing, but be really clear about all of the facts and stories and data that you have that backs up your claim, backs up your message. Of course, that avoids greenwashing, but also the more details you provide makes that message more trustworthy. It means it lands better with your audience because they really understand it. It's not vague. They can start to visualize the actual things that you're working on. So this is about real investment, real changes in your business, real changes in your product, and hopefully long-term commitment as well. This is not cause surfing. This is not sponsoring Pride because it seems to be the trendy thing to do these days. If you're going to do that, then you've got to be making real changes within your organization around that particular topic. And just making charitable donations, that's not what this is about either. It's real substantive change to your product or company. Next is customer centricity. So when you start to go down the sustainability journey, think about whether you're appealing to just your existing target market, your traditional customer, or whether perhaps you can open up the market to new customers. For example, there was a Danish print company that decided, hey, we want to be the most environmentally friendly print company in the world. And when they went down that road, they started to open up a new market, which was within charities. So the World Wildlife Fund, Greenpeace, and others. Suddenly they started to take all of their business to this company because it was the greenest. So have a think about that. Really understand your ideal customer, and speak to them. That nothing can replace an actual conversation with a customer to understand what are the issues on their mind regarding your product or the category in general. What sustainability information they're looking for, what they currently what they would like to have, and and find out what the biggest issues are. Because ultimately this is not just talking about here's all this wonderful stuff we're doing with our product or service, but about making it relevant to the customer. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. Fourth is competitiveness, because we're never marketing in a vacuum. There are always competitors out there. So go to their websites, see the messages that they are coming to the market with, see the facts that they're using to back up those messages. They may well be greenwashing. There may well be no facts to they may be making a somewhat misleading impression in the market. So that's your opportunity to do something different. And simply these days by providing facts, by providing information, that is a differentiator, because there's so many companies that are vague in the way they communicate. But also emphasize the differences. For example, within the furniture industry, a lot of wood furniture manufacturers have FSC certified wood, and they will feature that in their communications. But the problem is, most other companies also have that as well. So yes, include it, but it's not your lead message. Think about the things that are a little bit different. For example, maybe you're working with the maybe your wood comes from Asia, and you're working with the Asian supply chain to make sure that those that wood comes the farmers or the loggers are getting earning a living wage, for example. So so that could be a better way to go with your message. But also think about what you don't do compared to sometimes what you don't do can be as strong as what you do. For example, one of my customers, they make pillows, and they have a synthetic filling, and most of their competitors have down and feather filling. So, one of the messages that that my customer uses is that they don't have any animal content. So so think about what you don't do as well as what you do. Fifth is cut through. There's a huge amount of comms that you want to cut through and make sure that yours gets attention. So get creative, invoke the emotions. Sustainability, when we start to work with all this facts and data, it can become quite easy just to lean towards the rational arguments, but we want to invoke the emotions, and you can certainly do that with sustainability. And of course, make sure that you're rolling out through in a multi-channel way and across the journey. Think about the communications that you can make to your customers as you are trying to win them, but also as they use your product and throughout their life cycle. And then number 6, finally, that's commitment. So if you want to build a sustainable brand, this is not just a one-quarter campaign. This is something that you need to communicate on an ongoing basis. So be based on your positioning. You'll be clear about the themes that you want to communicate around, and when you've got some news, some progress, some investments, even if you're talking about your challenges, within a particular area, all of this is fine. It's good information to share with your customers, because it just helps to add credibility and reinforce that you're really working with this area and that it's not just a marketing campaign. And of course, you want to measure the impact so that so that you can see that you're getting business value from your communication. When you use all of these C's, you can start to head up the curve. This renewal curve. By consistently sticking to these principles and communicating in the right way, you will eventually see sales move up. What tends to happen first is that there's an improvement in your brand reputation, and then slowly over time, as you make more and more progress on the sustainability agenda, then sales move up. But we already see from the data from the supermarkets, there's faster growth from those companies. And I think because we've had so much consumer stuff, and and a lot of the research is around consumer, and the greenwashing cases, they often tend to be consumer as well, because that's what everyone can relate to. The B2B stuff tends to be a little bit hidden. So I wanted to give you an example here from the B2B world about how these 6 C's have been used. So this is a company, Amphenol, and how they generated a sales pipeline for upcycled antennas. And these antennas are the ones that you see at the top of the tower on the right here. So they make these antennas for the mobile operators, and what they found was that they were getting undercut. This is a European company, and they were getting undercut by American competitors, by Asian competitors. So their market share was coming under pressure. So what did they do? They came up with a new antenna, and you can see the picture here. This is like the antenna lying down, but you can see it's got a modular design, and that means that the antenna can be upgraded. So you can pull out a module and upgrade it and replace it back. And why is this important? Because a lot of antennas, these antennas, they go up onto these towers, and then 2 years later they get torn down again because the demands for network evolution. And that's a huge waste of perfectly functioning antennas. So how could we reduce that waste? So they came up with this modular design that would reduce the carbon footprint, and they did all the calculations to document that, and also shared that documentation on their website. So they're ticking that credibility box by being open and transparent about their about the calculations and basing their claims purely on data. And then when it came to the marketing, the RAN managers. These are the the network managers. They were the priority target audience, and their overriding priority is just simply to keep the network up to date. As technology advances. And as I said, thousands of functioning antennas get scrapped every year. But actually, these guys, they feel bad about this waste. They knew that it was an issue. They knew it was an issue, but they thought it was unavoidable. Well, it's just the march of technology. There's nothing we can do about it. And at the same time, most of these big network operators, they're making CO2 reduction commitments. So we gather these these key customer insights in order to formulate our communications. And on the next page, there's a little video which encapsulates it. Okay, go to the next one, Julian. Okay, so looking at the different principles that we're using here. So we're using a little bit of creativity, to create some cut through here. We've got the simple message, and we're just landing it in a way that's very relevant to customers. And then we had like a few, because this is a B2B campaign, there were a few sales slides that went alongside this. So this is one of the slides when we're introducing the topic. So what we're doing here is we're reminding the customer of the issue. So we're actually making them feel that little bit of pain, that little bit of guilt, and that's not a bad thing. We want them to remember that we're in a bad situation at the moment. So that's using based on that emotional reaction we got on this topic. And then, of course, the consequences of this. Okay, this is part of the problem. We're heading in the wrong direction. And then we're using a little bit of social proof here. So we're saying, the mobile network operators are responding. Look at all these companies. These are your peers. These are all the companies that are working to reduce their their climate and environmental impact. So giving them the hint, hey, this is something that you should be looking at because all of your competitors are as well. And then we position Integra, the world's first upgradable antenna. So this is when we are got that competitive differentiation in a. If you want to have this this kind of antenna, we're the only company that can provide it. And here, so the message is the latest technology for 50% of the carbon footprint. So a very simple, clear message. So you're still getting the latest technology, but with half the carbon footprint. So you upgrade instead of scrap. You've still got the same 2-year warranty that you normally expect. It's still fully tested and certified, and there's no additional charge. So we're just really balancing the environmental claims against the other claims that the buyers are interested in here. And then just as I say, just using that that simple concept to to allow people to understand the situation, and really just putting the responsibility on them. You can't just turn a blind eye to this anymore. Now you can make an active choice. So of course, in order to get cut through and commitment, you got to have a range of assets. You need to be working in various different channels, and and keep communicating. So that this company is good at keeping communicating on social media, especially around this topic. To maintain awareness and for this product and the issue that they can solve. And they also had, really rapid results as well. So this is a small B2B campaign, which is typical for many companies. But they had great, feedback internally. The sales, people really wanted to use this. They got, good amount of impressions on LinkedIn for their posts in the first couple of weeks. And then they actually, sent, brochures, physical printed brochures on the target contacts desks. And then the salespeople followed up with that. And then within a couple of weeks, they had multiple sales opportunities amongst Europe's largest mobile operators. And these were companies that they had previously struggled to get the attention of, because now that they had something new and different to talk about, they were able to open the door. So this was a huge success for them. Right, now, so that was the 6 C's, the top performing sustainability claims. Now, there's some research out there, because there's many different claims that you can make. So, but which sustainability claims are actually the most effective? So NYU Stern, another new piece of research that they've published, they analyzed 30 different claims aimed at consumers. So this is going back to the B2C space, but it makes some, but it's also applies to B2B, as we'll see. And these top performing claims, they worked on everyone. It doesn't matter what generation, what gender, political affiliation, family size, household income, education, whether you lived urban or rural. These were the top performing claims that worked with everyone. And the first category of claims was health related. So anything that is made without harmful ingredients, free from chemicals harmful to humans, skin safe, these kind of claims were really, really high performing. Then anything money related, my wealth. So maybe you have a product that uses less energy, well then say it's going to save money on your energy bill. So saving money, join up the dots for the customer. Or maybe this is a product that lasts longer than other products. Therefore, you're going to have to replace it less often. There's going to be less waste in it, and it's going to save you money. It's a good long-term economical buy. And then the third category is my personal world. So relating your sustainability activities to the benefits that it can bring for future generations, for you and your children. Not tested on animals and certified cruelty free. These are also very highly strong performing claims and should be used if they are relevant to your business. And also, locally produced, locally sourced ingredients. People like the idea of supporting their local farmers or local businesses as well. So this is very much encompassed in my personal world, your local environment. But it could also be Australia made, for example. But there needs to be obviously just because it's Australia made doesn't mean that it's sustainable. But if it can help to be part of your story. And then there were some less effective sustainability claims. Now these claims were still effective. They still were appealing to customers. They still helped to extend your reach, but they're within a smaller subset of the population, and that was typically within Gen Z and the political left. And those claims tended to be environmental claims. So reducing air pollution, made with renewable energy, saving water, lower carbon footprint, biodegradable, these kind of things, they were less effective. They still helped, but they were less effective. But the way you can maximize the effect of those is just to add some simpler explanations which help to make it clear what's in it for me, or what's in it for humankind, for cleaner air to breathe, to protect drinking water. And also when you include some numbers, like saves 2 million tons of ocean-bound plastic annually, then that helps as well. Just makes everything more credible and effective. So, the purpose of this slide is really just to raise this question about balancing your claims. You will have some core category claims. That you have the best performing product, or you have the greatest tasting food, or whatever it might be. These are core category claims. And these are the claims that are always going to bring in the highest amount of customers. But then you need to bring in some additional claims. And what the research showed, that sustainability claims as additional claims were the second or third highest performing in all of these different product categories. So they are extending your reach and the appeal of your brand. But of course, it's going to be a balancing act, from one product to the next. And in B2B, you know your market, you know your customers, you're better than anyone. But so you've got to find that balancing act. But this is definitely not about just replacing all of the brand category, all of the category claims with sustainability claims, because that will actually reduce your market share. So this is about adding sustainability claims to your communication. And here's an example again from B2B world of managing that balancing act. So Novozymes, this is a producer of enzymes, which they sell to various different industries who use enzymes in their process, and as a replacement to chemicals. So they're using a biological solution to replace a chemical solution, which is generally better for the environment. However, you can see in these three ads here, the first headline is about profit. The second headline is about operational efficiency, and the third headline is about environmental legacy. So these are three different ads that were being served to the same target market. So only 1/3 of the messaging is about the environment. And you can see in the white paper on the right-hand side, choosing the best catalyst for profit and planet. So that's why it's that balancing act. A final word for sustainability reports. This is not a marketing document, but it's very much a brand building document. It's based upon trustworthy, transparent communication, talking about the actions that you are taking, but also the challenges that you're facing as well. Everyone knows that we're on a journey. No company is perfect here, so we've got to find that balance. So this is when you do that, this becomes a very trustworthy document which enhances your brand. It also helps to communicate. It also brings together all of the information that you have within your organization. And on the next slide, you'll see that can then be repurposed into sustainability communications, for social media, for sales environments, for your website, and so on.
Okay, thanks, James. Thanks for that. Thanks for the examples as well. I think it really illustrates the strength of the model. So I just wanted to summarize this because we've covered quite a bit of ground over the course of this meeting. So just the key takeaways. Sustainability is an opportunity, and it actually unlocks more growth potential, and that's pretty clear given the data. Marketers are key in getting the message out there and getting the right message as well. We don't want to put the brand at risk, so no greenwashing. That seems pretty clear, and now we have a better understanding of what that looks like. And also, so sustainability marketing, that requires more precision in the language that we use, and marketers usually are not used to that. So making sure that we stay aware of what's happening in the sustainability world and what we can say and cannot say is really important. We want to make it relevant to the customers. My health, my wealth, my world. I think that's the ones that work the best. And if you can use the 6 C's, because that's a very good framework to use for this. We're getting to the end of our presentation. I just wanted to reiterate that we can help you as well with these topics, whether it's around sustainability positioning writing any any type of content, including sustainability reports, we're more than happy to help you. We understand how this type of marketing is quite specific. So we more than happy to help out. If that's something that you would want to do, or you would have more questions, or want us to clarify anything, so feel free to either sign up into that QR code that is on screen, or just connect with us on LinkedIn. Send us an email if you'd like. We're more than happy to help out in any way we can. 5:02 on the clock. We're just after the 1 hour. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to do any Q&As, but yeah, again, drop us a note if you'd like. I'd like to thank you very much for attending this on a Thursday night, and I hope you are enjoying the Climate Action Week as well. There's still a few events happening before the end of the week, so make the most of it. Thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you around.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.